The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, the bacon is sizzling. Welcome to the Daily Swole.
Welcome everyone to episode 70 of the Daily Mother Swole. Today, abdominales, high reps or heavy weight for abs. Should you be doing heavy weight or should you be doing more high repetitions? And it goes without saying, or it should, that if you go high rep, you're doing lower weight, just because if you are going, heavier weight, you're not gonna be able to do as many repetitions. So let's go over the general symptoms or the general effects of weight on muscle. So with any muscle, it's generally shorter rest, moderate to high weight, moderate repetitions for muscle growth. That's in general, and here's why. The reason why a moderate reps and a moderate to heavy weight to failure is most effective for most muscles is because most muscle is a combination of what we call fast twitch and slow twitch fibers. Type 1, slow twitch, and type 2 are fast twitch. Now, fast twitch have shorter endurance. They're more for power, for force, and they grow bigger in size as a result of that cross-sectional area, so like the width, the diameter of the muscle tissue. The type 1 fibers are slow twitch. Those are more for endurance, like the diaphragm, the breathing muscles like the calves and forearms, muscles that work all the time. And that's why forearms and calves, for example, are generally difficult or classically difficult for most people to grow because they are mostly type 1 fibers across the board. Now, the fibers can manipulate and can kind of adapt and change a little bit. And type 1 can act more like type 2 if they're trained that way. And type 2 can act more like type 1 if they're trained that way. But that being the case, it'll still be limited to how much of the characteristics they'll take. So let's say your calves are more type 2 for whatever reason, and you do a lot of running, they can imitate or act more like or kind of adapt to be more type 1-esque, you can say, but they won't completely be type 1 fibers. So that being said, that's why certain muscles on most people, and this is not like across the board, there's always those genetic freaks, people that just have massive calves for no reason, people that just can't grow calves for no reason, so people have sometimes freakish body parts. When you have a muscle that's a combination, that's when the classic bodybuilding is supposed to be most effective. Now, this doesn't mean that high reps will just bulk up type 1 fibers. This does not mean that just because you're doing low weight, it'll bulk up type 1 fibers either. What this means is those type 1 fibers are more prone to endurance and less likely to develop in hypertrophic sense as type 2 fibers. So abdominal muscles, because they're always contracting, because they're always engaged, because they're always creating stability, they're not like arms that hang off the body and don't perform a lot of activity unless called upon, or like the chest. That's why the chest doesn't just get massive, because you're never really using your chest unless you push something. It's stabilizing, but you're not really activating it unless you're actually actively pushing. And the chest is one of those muscles that has a combination or maybe a little bit biased more towards type 2. So the abdominals are always working. They're generally more type 1 fibers. So if you train a lot of heavy weight, which I'll get into in a minute, if you do a lot of that, you can maybe create a little more blocky abs, but you're not going to get massively jacked. I mean, how many people that aren't on steroids do you see that have, I'm not talking about a six-pack, I'm talking about like massive abs, like they're big. No one does. No one has like huge abs. It might be like from here to like here. Like you could definitely be more developed, but you're never going to have like massive, like jutting out abs like a bicep muscle. And that's just because they're more type 1 fibers. Now, you can develop your abs, but I would be more careful doing heavy weight for a couple of reasons. One, the abs are a stabilization muscle group, and the lower back is a sensitive area. You need more stabilization. Stabilization and higher endurance exercise with proper form is more important for that region. The abdominal walls and the transverse abdominis and the lower back and the hips, the core is really a stabilization focal point. That's the core, that's the center of the body. Since it's the core, it's more dependent on being a solid foundation for motion around other areas, around the thoracic spine and then the thighs moving. So if the core is stable, then the body can enact more force and more activity through other extremities. With the abdominals, the problem with most people that do heavy weight is that their hip flexors are too tight. Their body is already compensating. It's already out of alignment. Also, a lot of people have bulging discs and issues that they're not aware of. They might not have actual pain, but their discs are bulging from doing heavy weight. It's just not to the point where they have to go get an MRI because they're in writhing pain, but the discs are bulging. The discs are sliding out a little bit. They're not perfectly aligned. When you start doing heavy weight, you put your body at risk. Now, heavy weight doesn't have to mean like 300-pound crunches. It could be a decent amount of weight, but only to the amount where you can still get moderate to high repetitions. So you should never grab a weight and do, like the range of motion for the abs is so light. Doing a full sit-up is not working the abs. It's working the abs isometrically. It's not working the abs in a flexion extension standpoint. Like from the first inch, it's abdominals and the rest of it is hip flexors. And you're getting the abs isometric. That's why sit-ups burn after a while, but that's why people have back pain, because it jacks up your hip flexors and it creates stress on those lower vertebrae like L3, 4, and 5, and S1. That's a lower back area. So when you're doing resistance, make sure you're still keeping the repetitions with perfect form, but you're not going any lower than like maybe 10 or 15 repetitions. You're still doing moderate repetitions. That would ensure that you're still getting, or you're keeping the body safe and the core safe without overloading and causing potentially more damage. There's no need to max out for like a weighted sit-up. You don't need to grab a weight and do 6 reps for abs. That's just ridiculous. There's no point for that. You can do exercises with body weight that will only get you about 6 to failure, but it's much safer because you're controlling your own body. When you're working your abs, it's always better to do body-controlled exercise because that's what the abdominals do. I want to make that clear again. It's always better to do body-controlled exercise, body weight, because that's what the abdominals are designed to do. The abdominals are meant to twist the body. They're meant to flex the spine. They're meant to help raise the legs from, let's say you're doing the lower part of the spine. The top part is a closed chain. It's anchored down. Let's say you're holding on and you're lifting your pelvis up. Your body, your abs twist the body around in different positions. If you're doing resistance, there's really it's not like the biceps where like the hands are meant not necessarily to move the body, they're meant to pick up things. The biceps are meant to pick up things. You could pull yourself up. I mean, you can make the argument with any body part that you can manipulate the body with it. It's just body weight exercise. But the hands are meant to grab and the biceps are meant to pull things that the hands are holding. And then also, I guess, pull the body towards you, but it's pulling it's interacting with outside environment. The abs, it's not like I'm grabbing something, and you're pulling your legs up or you're pulling your body up. Let's say you're climbing over a wall or in a tree. You might grab with your hands, but your abs are going to pull your legs up. They're not like, your abs don't reach out and grab something. That's my point. So your abs are pulling the body in different directions. So you can do, if you remember like Rocky IV, where you do those butterfly crunches or whatever you want to call them, or scorpion tails, or there's a bunch of different names for it. But you can do reverse crunches and then put a lot of stress on your abdominals where you don't need any weight. You really don't need a lot of weight. You can always increase the intensity. And that's my final point with the abdominals, is that people are very quick to grab resistance to make things harder. People are very quick to grab, let me add 10 pounds to this. Let me add 20 pounds. Increase the instability first, especially for something like the abdominals. And this is what I'm not talking about the chest. I'm not talking about the back. I'm not talking about bigger muscle groups like the lats or the pectorals. I'm talking about stabilization, muscles, and areas like the abdominals. Make it more unstable first. Do something where you're on a ball, or you're hanging off the edge of a bench, or you're doing like the ab roller on one leg, or you're turning, or you're doing it on a wobble board. Like, make the abs more unstable, make the environment more unstable first before adding resistance, because that will stimulate more of those type 1 fibers that the abs are primarily comprised of. Type 1 fibers work for endurance, and they also work for stabilization. You will hit more of those core muscles. You will hit more of the abdominal muscles themselves, the fibers. You will activate, you will carve out more abs by doing different positions, different range of motion, different angles, holding it longer, isometric tension, planks, hip bridges, hanging leg raises, holding it longer. You will create more definition, chisel it out more by doing more instability and more endurance exercise for abs. If you choose to try doing resistance and heavier weight with actual external weight, don't go super heavy. Keep the form perfect. Make sure the form is perfect. And of course, it's hard for me to explain that for every exercise right now, but make sure the form is excellent and keep the reps. Don't go too low. You're not doing 6 or 8 reps. I would not really go below 10 or 12. And that's still not that many repetitions, especially for crunches or abs or whatever you're doing with weights. So just don't go super heavy. It's not like a max bench press. Just you could add resistance. You could add extra, but make sure you have core stability first. Make sure you don't have any real nasty complications or compensations with the hips or with the upper back, like really bad rounding or really bad sway back, just because potentially you're putting more pressure on the discs that are already there. And by adding resistance and adding maybe any twisting or impact, you're just compounding the force that's already pulling those joints in the wrong directions. Holy shit, right? What do you think about that? Yeah? What do you think? Let's get some hearts going. Come on, blow that shit up. That was good. That was a good little rant here. Let me flex that out. There we go. Boom. Oh, my back just cracked for some reason. Well, I will stay for a couple moments after on Periscope and Busker. Thank you for joining me on YouTube. Thank you for joining me on SoundCloud and iTunes and Stitcher. Also, make sure you check out my YouTube channel if you haven't. I uploaded a few of the new Raw series, and I'm going to be putting up some more. I got Driving While Gaining coming. I'll be putting up some more other stuff. A reminder, I will be doing some more scoping for premium. I'll be doing some stuff, some like instructional, some Q&A, some random scopes. Make sure you follow me on Periscope. I probably won't be doing it with Busker because I use my iPad for that, so I use Wi-Fi, but my phone is always with me. And check out my Snapchat if you're interested in bacon and you like Arnold and you like Eli. They all joined me yesterday on Snapchat. So if you haven't checked that out, check it out, share, subscribe, follow, add, whatever you can do on any of the platforms. Also on Instagram, all over the place. So just giving a little blast out there. Thank you for the support. I appreciate that. And I will see everyone tomorrow for episode 75 of the Daily Swole. Peace out. Enjoy your Tuesday. And let's fucking get it today. Yeah? Yeah. All right. Deuces.
Another.